I'd like to call the meeting to order. It is Tuesday, November 12th, 6:33, for the regular meeting of the Floresville Economic Development Corporation. On Saturday morning, we had Mary Ellen Teakin, Ray Lambert, Jason Talley, myself, so we have a quorum, and also in attendance is our Economic Development Executive Director, Tommy Baker. I'd like us all to stand for invocation, pledge of allegiance, and take this flag. Mary Helen, would you lead us in the invocation?
Dear Lord Jesus, give us the wisdom to handle the opportunities and the challenges that are before us tonight. Help us make good decisions for our community, for our future. Bless those people in the Philippines that were so damaged and so hurt. And we thank you for the things that you've given us. We look forward to a bountiful Thanksgiving and so appreciate the country that we live in. We pray all of this from your bounty on our behalf. Amen.
Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Citizen comment. During citizen comment. Moving on to old business, the approval for a minute for October 14th is being postponed because we have lost staff support from the city, so we're not going to be able to review that this time. We'll defer that. We'll go to the treasurer's report. Mr. Jason, you want to give your treasurer's report at this time?
Yes, I want to have you turn to, there's several reports in here, but revenue and expense report. Well, it's really, it just says at the top.
It should be
revenue and expense report. And this is the first start with Laura assisting us on the financials. And there's still some things that I need to get figured out because some of the accounting process is a little bit different than what we were using in QuickBooks. And so if you look at this first report, you see on the left is your budget numbers. That's our budgeted amounts that we budgeted. You see there the current period, which would be for the month of October, year-to-date actual, and then budget balance. Okay, so this is going to be a standard type report, and if you turn the page, then you see personnel, supplies, equipment, utilities, etc. You see the budgeted amounts on the left side. You see the first column to the right that shows our expenditures for that month in those columns. So it's going to be a nice report that we can review and look at those totals. Okay. That's the only report I'm going to refer to tonight because I don't have a list of just the expenditures by item. And if I do, I have not seen it in here, meaning we usually have a running list. The bank statement is enclosed, which shows you the checks that have cleared for that period of time on the October 31st statement. Okay, but in the future, we will have, because I like to see, you know, the items that have, well, we do have that, and that's on the bank reconciliation statement. But what it shows you is items that have cleared, and then there'll be some items on there that might be outstanding that have not cleared, but that doesn't necessarily mean that those items are paid out in the month of October. So, you know, I kind of like to always see the month prior so that we know exactly what those detailed amounts were. Okay. Now, money market account balances of this October 31st, and I'll just read this to you. It's on the statement, but it's $981,000, $981,000, $232.75. The checking at this time has $61,300.82. And then we do have the CD amount, or your comment, which has not changed much, but I'd have to, you may not have the CD amount, that's, with Wells Fargo. But those are the two main accounts that we actually have money coming in and out of. Laura has these accounts set up. We have a sheet that we use, and I don't know if you have had a moment to see some of these, but these are the request sheets that we submit
with an invoice.
with an invoice.
And approval, two approvals, and back up to Laura. And then she'll cut a check.
Yeah, so I'll have y'all review that, because I know you're trying to thumb through some of that. So thumb through that, and then we'll go over the process we're using to cut those checks.
You know, one of the things with this form is we've got a GL account number, and we can look on a statement of accounts and find out where, in this case, electrical expense is, and the number, and then that plugs right into budget and so forth, so we've got a way to track that.
Now, is the tax credit money going directly into the checking account? I thought it used to go into the
I
money
think
market.
this time she did because we had some other expenses. We're gonna have to talk to her about that, because she feels like we ought to put it into checking and then transfer excess over into money market instead of the other way around. So, that's just,
Well, I guess we need to, we make the decision.
and part
how
of
we
hers
want to
was
do it.
saying
Yeah,
that we get charged
That's
for,
controlling.
Yeah, we'll,
we get charged for transfer, I think, over 2 a month, and so she was saying we put it into checking, and then we don't get charged for transferring excess over when we get sales tax again, and put it into money market. But if it goes the other way, we get charged after 2 free transfers a month.
well, by law, it's actually you get 3 transfers a month
3.
without that, and we never have that many anyway. So we can look into that and make decisions, something that minor, but that,
Can I ask a question? On this Wells Fargo, says analyze business checking plus PF, dated October 1st to October 31st, page 1 and 2. What is all this bank grant, electronic bank grant to Jesse Dennis?
Where are you looking at this?
Right here. You see that?
Yeah.
10,
What is that for?
That could have been,
That, I think, is our electrical accounts. And we
It's
just.
just
have to
in
do
his
it.
name?
I think it must,
Well, that needs to
Yeah,
be
we need,
changed.
I don't know why it's in his name instead of FEDC. We'll get that changed.
Have we ever bid this account out?
not since
We're
we've
up to
been
get
here.
a service charge with this kind of fund.
Mhm.
I know the city has been very lax, and I don't know if they've ever bid their account out. But,
Well, we
I don't know what
haven't done anything with it since we've been here. Now, I know that's been brought up before, that we need to take a look at that. And actually, when you look at the investment policy talks about that, you know, and doing that. So that's something that we probably need to go ahead and do and just get competitive.
Or go tell them, well, we need to figure out what we're gonna do to eliminate that charge. We're not gonna pay it. If you, with that kind of balance, if you, discuss it with them, they may put you on a waive or something like that. So,
Well, I think that, really, I think the approach, and I know it's a little more work to do that, but it ought to be considered to bid it out. The other thing that you were gonna have done, though, is that you would have to change all of the accounts and things like that. Maybe the approach might be to go ahead and see if they'll get those fees removed, since we just got all this stuff set up with new checks and those kind of things with the city. You know, so maybe it would be best to get them to grant us a waiver on the charges versus this year, and then maybe wait after a while and see what we want to do there.
I concur with that, but there's, when you have an excess of $1 million in there, you shouldn't be getting a charge.
And in my opinion too, I know it's a difficult situation for Andy, but I don't see this much really growing a whole lot. I mean, I see people leaving, not coming.
Yeah.
If we're talking about doing things in the future and we need this, we need that, I don't think we're gonna get that opportunity right here. But that's, you know, not just because
Yeah.
Andy's
Sure.
that's just the truth.
Right. Well, right now, you know, we just got all this transferred over for the accounting, in-house accounting with the city, so I think we need to probably try the fee approach first and then do that, and then maybe put them on notice that we will be looking at this in the future, and, you know, we want to be competitive.
I know it's only $30 a month, I mean, but
It's a principle.
Yeah.
It's tax money too.
Right.
Yeah, but it's also nice to, when you pick up the phone, you can talk to a human versus going to 13 different.
we're good. I think this has to be very promising. We could get some of the things out, it's gonna be very nice.
Well, and I've got to get a handle on the new accounting format.
Yeah, I need to take this to digest it a little bit.
And Laura sent a letter with these, that basically, in the month of December, she wanted to try to get on the agenda and discuss the formatting and so forth, and take questions,
Right.
so.
And I did mention to her tonight about if she would be available, but late notice, and she said she would make it tonight, which I understand. So we didn't really talk about it coming tonight.
Any other questions for the treasury report and review?
The other thing I just want to mention is, y'all were looking at those statements. So here is the check request form. You know, we put the vendor's name, invoice date. This is the account number that they have coded on our books that we put there. Direct draft, this one happens to be that. And then quote required note. So like on the sandblasting, when we have the final payment, you know, that was an item, not sandblasting, but the Pronto group that did the driveway. This is the final draw on that amount that was held back. And, you know, so they're circling, yes, that was required to do it, and we did do it. Okay, so everything's being attached like that to the invoice. So we have a good record of it.
Good.
So far, so good, right? On how that's working.
No, that's working just fine.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion that we approve the treasury report and review?
So,
Have a motion by Mary Ellen Tickton, we approve the treasury report. Do I have a second? Have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion passed. We're going to the committee reports. We have any finance or personnel committee reports? And moving on to 4, executive officers report. Tommy, would you like to?
Yeah, I'd like to list some things that just are going on. I have a list of all the 4B properties from the Travis County Appraisal District and those are in my office to review.
Wilson County. You said Travis.
I mean,
County.
I'm sorry, wrong place.
That's that small place in Austin, right?
You're still in your name, Wilson.
Wilson County, and, you know, there's some, out parcels that, I may, try to talk to the city manager and see if there's any trade that might be, available for, their interest in, the beer warehouse. But I haven't proposed anything to her yet, so. Andy, Jason, Laura, the city financial advisor, and myself met, on the 6th of November, this past week, to discuss financing options available to the FEDC for, road system construction within, Rio Grande Industrial Park. And, we're still looking at options, but we met. The timeline is appropriate, where we need 100 days or so, and I'll give you the timeline from the engineer that we should be doing exactly what we're doing right now, at looking at options and so forth. I referred reps from the health and dental clinic here in Floresville to a broker's listing on 181, because they needed about 9,200 square feet, and I'm sorry, I don't know what this formally was, but it's broken up into cubicles and offices. Cues, okay, and it's for sale and for lease, and it was an attempt to give them an alternative to the 4.38 acres in the business, in the Veterans Park. And I got an acknowledgement that they appreciated that, but I'm not following that after the referral.
There's also, the church across the highway from us, Benny's church, is up for sale, that property. We've got some place. I don't know how many square feet that is, but it's a large area.
And I don't know, they told us that they're willing to pay for a site. I don't know if that's, I don't know if that's their, I'm sure it's their second or third priority in having a land grant probably their first option. And anyway, trying to give them some other alternatives. I met with Philip Vespan, and the business manager for the chamber, and I guess the tourist bureau, because I've gotten a bill or an invoice for $1,550 for the domain name and the yearly maintenance on the shopinfloresville.com. And I originally approached Andy because I didn't see where this had anything to do with FEDC, in that, first of all, it hasn't been updated, so it's not been used. But as I was telling Andy and I think Jason, unless I attract somebody, we attract somebody here, or somebody comes with hat in hand, I don't know when businesses open up. And yet, if you go to the chamber, if that business is a member, great. If they're not, the chamber doesn't mess with them, except maybe recall to see if they can at some point get them to be a member. But the Visitors and Tourist Bureau has a need to be able to say, when you're bedding down in Floresville, here are places to eat and shop and da-da-da-da-da. And so we talked about sharing that cost and having the tourist bureau handle the maintenance on that and keep it up to date. And they're seeking additional funds from the council in December, and they feel pretty positive about that. So they're willing, without a written commitment, they're not opposed to sharing the expense. The city manager and I talked about, her idea is for the tourist bureau is to generate a new board that would have representation from the city, the chamber, the Visitors Bureau, from 4A and 4B. So we've got about 5 members of a board, if they all accept it, and have a meeting once a month. But there might be a possibility that 5 board members could split the $1,550, and the cost gets down to $300 or $275 per person. But we, you know, that's still in discussion and so forth. I know there are members that don't think that is a necessary expense, and it's not on the agenda, but if there's any guidance as far as discussion, let me know, because I'll keep up with them, and you know, eventually this is gonna, I mean, Jim's gonna want his money for the maintenance and so forth. I've been sitting on that for about 3 weeks, and
Oh, may I add just something? You know, this is something we've actually talked about in the past. And just simply having a site we know doesn't just do something for a community. So we have to have a site that's constantly updated. And I've always felt that that's probably the chamber's function anyway. A big part of that function, because you look at their site, they do have a nice site with businesses listed and all these kind of things. And so I don't know when this was done. I remember when it started years ago. I don't know much about it, but it was just maybe an effort to try to create more excitement about, you know, businesses here locally and shopping locally. But just simply having the site there doesn't mean it's going to do anything. So I think that we need to continue to work with the chamber and move forward with maybe shifting some of that direction, because that's the primary role there, you know.
I think the way I remember it, the first time it came up, the prior executive director told us that he didn't feel like there was enough promotion for the businesses in town, and he started it himself to try to promote it independently of and without assistance from the chamber. And if we discuss, we want to try to be a little bit cohesive with them and get involved. Maybe they could maintain it or something if we did it, or if their system allows it to be updated when we don't need a duplication of it. But I think you're correct. We need to discuss what the capabilities of their site is. Can they maintenance it? Is it something that's readily usable? I think I understand this site is able to be maintained.
Yes.
If this is a superior site for this, we may have to run 2 side by side, but it'd be nice if there was just one site that the chamber site would do it, but I don't know if it will or not.
Well, and also part of that might have been spurred by the fact that at the time, those two didn't really communicate very well together, the chamber and the FEDC, and so we don't need more issues where we don't communicate with these groups. We're all in this together to, you know, make the community better. And so I think that was part of it too, is that there was some conflict there.
So I think that I would concur with that, visit with them, find out more about their site, what the efficiency is, the ability to update it and all, and it might be their site is capable of doing this. Or it may be their site isn't. We don't know those.
yeah.
Okay.
And they were very open to that. and I approached it as paying the invoice and seeking reimbursement in December, January, when they get money. But to have a meeting of the minds that, or even to write it, to reduce it to writing, that here's what you'll do, here's what we'll do, and sign it, and so forth, so we have a written commitment from them as far as money and maintenance.
Okay.
The for sale sign on Paloma Drive is just waiting on installation. Jim Signs was a low bidder at $600 to put both the lots and the acreage on one board. The marketing prices out there right now in Veterans Park is lot 4 at $45,000, which is $1.42 a square foot. Lots 2, 3, 5, and 6, which don't have Paloma frontage, are asking price is $42,000, which is $1.27 a square foot. But 4.38 acres we're asking $53,550 an acre, and that's $1.23 a square foot. I'm going to have for sale signs put up in the industrial park for the 17 acres that we have remaining and the 2 acres in the house. And errors by gas frac to get them down, the road to the 17 acre.
The 2 acres is listed with,
It's still listed, isn't it?
with Pat Brown.
Oh, okay. I have solicited 2 attorneys. This is so thick that I wasn't going to make it a package, but basically both of these firms have offices out of San Antonio, and there's a firm that basically I've been talking to Charles Zeech, which he's a partner in this Denton Navarro law firm. They have 18 attorneys that have in-depth knowledge of economic development, municipal law, and real estate law, which is something that the FEDC needs. And they've proposed to have a lady attorney attending our meetings on the second Monday of each month, so we have representation here. And their bill rate is
I think this is jumping ahead. Did I not see that we're going to be discussing this in the executive session?
yeah, sorry, that's right. Never mind. Larry, the engineer with Barry, has proposed a timeline and task for the road system construction. That is end of November to complete design and construction documents. Mid-December, review and approved by FEDC, and I'm thinking that he could make a presentation in our meeting on December 9th. Mid-December to mid-January, bidding. Mid-February, start construction, and by July of 14, completion of the project. I have a proposed agenda, but now that we're getting closer to hiring an attorney, I'd rather table that and have the attorney look at it and bless it before I bring it to the board. I talked to American Legion about what they're willing to do with the flags at Veterans Memorial, And they're willing to buy the flags and install them, so that, and I think I can move the brick project to them as well, so that all we have to do is oversee it, but not be involved on a day-to-day basis. In the future, I'd like to notify board members when I'm going to post an agenda, and I hope to do this where there's at least 24 hours notice, so that if you all have something you want to add to the agenda, you tell me. Once we get an attorney, we'll just see how far we can go before we have, where we have a legal meeting, and we have, I don't know that I can send out the agenda to everyone without that being an illegal meeting. And so the attorney can help us and direct us what information we can give to all the board members and still be in compliance.
Well, and that's a good idea, because, the reality is that you can have two people talking about an agenda, and they think that, they remember everything, and then another person might say, well, what about this? We need to address this.
Yeah.
So I think it's good that we all.
And then lastly, I have a 10-year growth plan and one of 2 maps in our office. And so if anybody wants to come by and take a look at it, or check out the documentation, they're certainly free to do that. And that's it.
If I could, going back to your number 1, you talked about the sitting down with the city manager and all. I'd like you possibly to set up a meeting with the city manager, the mayor, and Mayor Pro Tem for you and I, and maybe another member of the committee, to sit down and talk about how we can resolve some of the issues that we have going right now, including the land, maybe the Ronde Grande Park, what they're utilizing. We don't have any future needs. They got the Bureau warehouse part of it, and there might be, maybe we'd be, we could have a joint meeting on that. If you could sit down and see if we can have the Mayor Pro Tem, that, and maybe 3 of us sit down to do that. I think I'd like to have a meeting with them right now.
Okay.
To go from there. Any other questions for Tommy regarding his executive officer's report? Very good. We're gonna move on to new business. Item 1, this kind of email issues that we continue to have was not included on the last meeting. Mary Helen Tican actually requested an approved absence from the October 14th meeting. It did not make the agenda, so she was out of town on business, gave it prior notice, but it just didn't get to the agenda item. So we need to consider that.
Make a motion that we approve the absence for Mary Helen Tican as a,
Excuse that.
as an excused absence from the October 14th, 2013 meeting.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second for excuse Mary Helen Tican from the October 14, 2013 regular meeting. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. We're going down to discussion possible action on B, naming Tommy Baker as FEDC official registered agent was effective Secretary of State. We had moved this around, it evolved a little bit this year. Right now, we named Mr. Ram Ramirez as our interim and executive as our registered agent. We now have a permanent, so we need to move this back. Naturally, the registered agent in Texas, not giving a legal opinion here, but it basically is one that's on-site available for legal services for anyone that filing with this notices and all. So that's all it amounts to. Just again, moving that to Tommy. Is there any Other questions on that?
I move that we name Tommy Baker as the FEDC official registered agent with the Texas Secretary of State.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to name Tommy Baker as the FEDC official registered agent with Texas Secretary of State. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
We need a timeline on that. Get it done before the end of the month, I mean, it's just a quick filing.
Well,
Do it online.
since it doesn't take anything to do it, just then we've lost the staff support here for that, where I may have to do it or something,
Okay.
but it'll be done as expeditiously as possible, okay? Okay, we're gonna have discussion items regarding the F&W contract on the 6.64 acres in Rancho Grande, Lot 4 in Veteran Park, and law firm profiling. According to section 551.047 and other in 551.072, we can adjourn these into executive session for discussion. So may I have a motion to adjourn into executive session?
I'll move that we adjourn into executive session to discuss items and see.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to adjourn into executive session. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same time. Motion adjourned, motion passed. So we're gonna adjourn this for just a couple of minutes to allow members